The night Victoria, my fiancée, accepted my proposal, she and her driver engaged in a passionate encounter on our wedding bed. She thought she'd gotten away with it, but the video was already too much for my hard drive to handle. Watching her, with her award-winning acting skills, showering me with affection online while simultaneously engaging in extensive extramarital affairs, I recalled her vow. If I betray you, I will be ruined and suffer a terrible fate. So, on the day Victoria was to marry me, I did 3 things. First, I liquidated all her gifts. Second, I sold all my company shares. Third, I leaked her infidelity videos online. Ruination? Check. A terrible fate? We'll see. Explosive news: innocent sweetheart actress gets pregnant before wedding. More next Monday. I smirked as I read the trending topics on Twitter. Victoria and I had been together for 7 years, watching her rise from obscurity to a leading actress, a top star in Hollywood. But I never imagined I'd be the one to destroy her. Yet Victoria, lying on my chest, had sworn, "Sebastian, I'll only ever be yours. Otherwise, may I be ruined and suffer a terrible fate." I couldn't bring myself to wish her a terrible fate, but ruination. A quick call to a prominent paparazzo, and it was done. 3 keywords: innocent, actress, eve of wedding. Each pointed directly to Victoria. I scrolled through Twitter, watching Victoria's fans fiercely defend her. "Next Monday? That's 7 days away," one tweet read. "If it's Victoria, I'll eat my hat backwards. If not, haters should apologize." It can't be Victoria. She and her boyfriend have been together since college. Their love story is legendary. He defended her from bullies, was seriously injured, and she nursed him back to health. They're practically soulmates. Yeah, and Vicky is so in love. On that talk show, a host asked if she felt pressured by the increasing gap in their earnings, if she felt less important at home. She said seriously, "Whoever earns more brings fortune to the family. There's no rule saying men have to earn more." She also said she relies on her boyfriend, listens to him about everything. When she won Best Newcomer, she asked if she could sell the trophy to buy him a gaming console. Many fans called her a lovesick fool. Would someone like that cheat? I read their fervent testimonies, lowered my head, and chuckled wryly, hiding the disappointment and desolation in my eyes. Everyone said Victoria loved me deeply. Yet the woman who swore she'd never leave me had a lover right under my nose, in the back of her chauffeured car, every night after I fell asleep. I watched those explicit videos frame by frame, the sounds searing my heart. The picture-perfect love story was grotesquely ugly. Orphaned at a young age, I was a loner, the school outcast. Victoria, however, chose to sit beside me, arrogantly asking if I'd tutor her in math in exchange for lunch. She was a beacon in my dark world. Anyone who dared to bully her would face my wrath. And now, she pulled me from the mud only to push me into the abyss. I shook off the memories, opened a travel app, and bought a one-way ticket for 7 days later without hesitation. For 8 years, my world revolved around Victoria. Now I'd pursue my dreams. My phone rang. "Mr. Sebastian, your custom wedding suit has arrived. Please come for a fitting," I agreed curtly. Victoria walked in. Tonight was Victoria's award ceremony. I didn't want to go, but she insisted, saying I couldn't miss any of her important moments. During her acceptance speech, she gave another heartfelt declaration of love. I felt no emotion, only nausea, and left. "Sebastian, I've been trying to reach you. Why didn't you say anything?" Victoria, clutching my hand, examined me, relieved to find me unharmed. Seeing her worry so genuine, I was confused. How could someone love me so much? "Victoria, my darling, how could you betray me?" She said, "Sebastian, don't ever sneak off without telling me. Don't leave me alone. What would I do if something happened to you?" I smoothed my tuxedo, smiled at her, and said, "Have you seen the trending news? The woman in the exposé. Isn't that you?" "What expose?" Victoria checked her phone, a shadow crossing her eyes before she resumed her sweet demeanor. She playfully threw herself into my arms. You're always overthinking things. It couldn't be me. You don't know how much I love you." Her tone was utterly sincere, almost convincing me again. I gazed at her, saying, "Remember the vow we made? If you betray me." Victoria quickly finished the sentence. "I'll be ruined, meet a terrible end." Her expression was open and innocent, as if she wasn't the one secretly meeting with the driver every night. I knew Victoria wouldn't believe anything without proof, but it didn't matter. I'd arranged everything. 7 days later, the fans who were desperately defending her online would turn on her with a vengeance. Those who betray trust deserve 1,000 needles. I didn't bother testing her acting skills further. My custom suit arrived. "I'll go try it on," I said casually. "Okay," she replied. On the way, Victoria excitedly planned our future, oblivious to my coldness. "Sebastian, I turned down all my jobs this month. Let's go on a road trip to the beach, okay?" She held my hands tightly as if afraid I'd run away. I calmly disengaged her grip and smiled. "You've been quite fond of road trips lately. Didn't you used to get carsick?" A young and handsome driver, perhaps? Victoria thought she'd hidden it well, taking my comment as a joke. "Yeah, my boyfriend is my cure for car sickness. With you, I don't get carsick in any car." The car stopped, and a shop assistant was already waiting. Her eyes lit up. "Mr. Sebastian, Miss Victoria, a truly stunning couple. This gown is one of a kind, custom made for Miss Victoria." She led us inside. I glanced back. Victoria was engrossed in her phone, her eyes betraying an undeniable lust. The shop assistant called her several times before she finally looked up. "Sebastian, you're so handsome. You're the best husband ever." She hugged me, kissing my chin. Her tenderness momentarily stunned me. Then, urgently, she said, "Sebastian, I have a sudden emergency. I'll send the driver to pick you up." She left without even trying on her wedding dress, rushing off to meet her lover. I coldly removed my tuxedo. The shop assistant rushed out. "Mr. Sebastian, is something wrong with the suit? We can alter it." "No need," I replied. "The groom's suit is clearly too small. I wonder whose measurements Victoria gave the shop. A suit can be altered, a person can't." I changed into comfortable sportswear, feeling a lightness I hadn't felt in ages. I didn't wait for Victoria, going straight home. At the villa entrance, my phone vibrated incessantly. Dozens of explicit photos and videos. I zoomed in, staring at the woman in the videos. She wore the protective amulet I'd given her, swaying wildly. Then Ethan's message popped up. "Sister's public thanks mean nothing. With a snap of my fingers, she'll come crawling back. Sebastian, sister's already full of my things. Do you still want her?" Trembling, I shoved the phone in my pocket and opened the door. Victoria was in the dressing room, wearing a lace camisole, looking seductive. "Sebastian, why did you come back alone? I was going to change and meet you for hot pot." She rushed to me, her eyes wide and innocent. I smelled a cloying, fishy scent on her, my stomach churning. I bent over and vomited. "Sebastian, what's wrong? Are you feeling sick? I'll take you to the hospital." She pulled out her phone. "Eighth, come up. We're going to the hospital." Footsteps echoed on the stairs. Ethan said, "What's wrong, Vicky? Are you feeling unwell?" His concerned tone wasn't what you'd expect from a driver. My fists clenched, the images flashing in my mind. Victoria froze, clearing her throat. "It's not me, it's Sebastian. And don't call me Vicky anymore, call me Miss Lou." Ethan remained unfazed. "Of course, Miss Lou. I'll be sure not to call you Vicky anymore." The two flirted right in front of me. I vomited again, bile rising to my throat. On the way to the hospital, Victoria nestled into my arms, silently staring out the window. From the rearview mirror, I caught Ethan's jealous glare, a fiery intensity in his eyes. I frowned. Victoria, mistaking my grimace for stomach pain, began to cry. "Sebastian," she sobbed, "if you weren't constantly filming, eating irregularly, you wouldn't have this stomach problem. Only after the nurse hooked me up to an IV and I fell into a deep sleep Did Victoria relax slightly? She sat by my bed, clutching my cold hand, her breath warming my skin. She didn't leave until the nurse called her to see the doctor. After she left, I slowly opened my eyes. "Ms. Lou really loves you," the nurse said, her voice filled with envy. "She was crying when she gave you the injection, as if it was her own arm." I didn't respond. "She even made a heartfelt confession in front of everyone," the nurse continued. "Mr. G cherish her." A numb feeling washed over me. Victoria, a master of deception, had been playing this role for 8 years. The doctor explained, "Your husband has severe peptic ulcers and gastroesophageal reflux. Irregular meals or exposure to cold can cause vomiting and stomach cramps. If left untreated, it could develop into stomach cancer." Victoria's brow furrowed at the mention of stomach cancer. "Give him the best treatment," she insisted, her eyes filled with worry, before hurrying back to the ward. Before I could hide my disgust, she pushed open the door and asked, "Sebastian, what happened? Why is your stomach problem so severe?" The doctor said. My gaze met hers, filled with concern and anxiety. I couldn't believe it was an act, but if it wasn't, why was she cheating on me right under my nose? Victoria, sensing my unease, quickly wiped away her tears and forced a smile. "Don't worry, Sebastian," she said. "I'll get you the best treatment. We'll get through this. We'll still travel the world together." I had dreamed of traveling the world with Victoria, watching the sunrise in Amalfi, the sunset in California, the waterfalls in Zambia, the bioluminescent plankton in the Maldives. Now I felt she didn't deserve such beauty. Those breathtaking landscapes shouldn't be tainted by her deception. "Victoria," I said, "the investors sent an invitation. Let's attend the premiere of G and Lou, a love story." This movie, inspired by our relationship, had already been optioned by a film company. I even wrote, composed, and sang the theme song. She had been so preoccupied with Ethan that she'd forgotten. She immediately called her assistant. "Cancel all engagements for the next 2 days. I have other arrangements." After hanging up, she hugged me tightly. "Sebastian," she whispered, "I'll always be here for you. Please promise me you'll take care of yourself. Tell me if anything bothers you." I simply nodded, emotionless. In the reflection of the ward window, I saw Victoria pull out her phone, zooming in on an image on WeChat, images I couldn't bear to describe. She typed 2 words, "Wait for me." I closed my eyes, a sharp, agonizing pain threatening to tear me apart. Victoria gently smoothed my hair, suppressing a smirk. "Sebastian, rest. I'll go home to get some toiletries. The doctor said you should stay for 2 days. Before leaving, she tried to kiss me, but I flinched away. "Go ahead." "I'm tired," I murmured. Soon after Victoria left, Ethan sent a video. I didn't need to open it to know its explosive content. I downloaded the original image and saved it to the same hidden album as the others. Ethan's message popped up on WeChat. "You think you can use moral blackmail and faked illness to keep your sister? I won't stop." I turned off my vibrating phone, ignoring his provocation. I decided to leave, to free myself from this turmoil. I wondered if Victoria would regret it, if she would suffer when she discovered I was gone. For the first time, I wanted to witness her pain firsthand, the pain of someone I once loved deeply. Early on the morning of the premiere, Victoria arrived at the hospital to pick me up, playfully coaxing me into wearing matching outfits. She held my arm as we sat in the front row. Fans flocked to her for autographs. "Your story makes me believe in love," one said. "Can we get a photo?" Victoria smiled and declined. "I'm sorry, my husband isn't feeling well." I stood up. "It's okay," I said. Victoria leaned against me, giving a heart sign to the camera. The movie began, opening with the scene of Victoria being bullied. I sighed. I never imagined the kind girl I would have died to protect would become such a liar. The scene shifted to my confession, met with cheers from the audience. Victoria's phone rang repeatedly. She kept hanging up, but the caller persisted. She fidgeted, her legs crossing and uncrossing. After another call, she leaned close and whispered, "Sebastian, it's the director. I'll be right back." I watched her in her sky-high heels practically run from the cinema, tripping on the plush carpet. I stiffened, turning and looking down at my phone. A text, Sebastian. I glanced to my right, then sharply upwards in that direction. A corner of the dark red curtain to the screen's right was pulled back, revealing Ethan, dressed in the same couple's outfit as me, raising an eyebrow. Ethan grinned mischievously, mouthing two words, "Serves you right." The next second, a slender hand was tracing Ethan's chest, lingering fingers flashing, wearing the limited edition sapphire ring I'd given Victoria. The movie continued, but I heard nothing, saw nothing. My mind was filled with two entwined bodies, their intimacy visible through the thin curtain. Half an hour later, Ethan texted, "Great movie soundtrack, but she says she prefers me calling her sweetheart. What do you think?" Attached was a high-resolution picture. Victoria, eyes glazed, lips glistening beneath Ethan. My knuckles whitened, a pain growing in my stomach. The movie neared its end, and Victoria rushed back. "Sebastian," she asked, concern etched on her face, "you look pale. Are you feeling all right?" She knelt before me, watching intently, but my eyes fell to the various bite marks on her slightly open collar. I thought, bewildered, "Victoria, aren't you scared?" The thought led me to blurt it out. "Sebastian, what are you saying? What am I scared of?" she asked. Scared of karma, I thought. The premiere ended to thunderous applause. Victoria, arm in arm with me, walked from the front row to the exit, flashbulbs popping. Whispers followed us. Heard Victoria, the A-list actress, is a hopeless romantic. Now, we know. See that watch on her fiancé's wrist? One of a kind. Amidst the gasps of awe, I removed the priceless watch and tossed it beside a trash can. What good is it? It's always half a minute slow. "Sir, you dropped your watch," someone said. Ethan suddenly appeared at the entrance. Victoria's face paled, her arms stiffening around mine before she recovered her composure. "Ethan's here to drive us home, darling. Don't like the watch? Don't worry, I'll buy my husband a new one." People filed out, every passerby staring. Pointing to the watch in the trash, I said flatly, "Ethan, the watch is yours." People noticed Ethan's outfit, so similar to mine, and seemingly matching Victoria's. Ethan glared at Victoria, who ignored him, walking away with me. The way home, Victoria explained, "I bought the wrong size for the first outfit, so I gave it to Ethan. He's so inconsiderate for wearing it. If you don't like it, I'll fire him and hire a new driver." I stared out the window, silent. I knew she wanted me to intercede for Ethan, then reluctantly keep him. A brief silence filled the car, only punctuated by our breaths. Victoria, watching my face, saw no anomaly and relaxed. "But you know my career is booming. Frequent staff changes affect things. Ethan's reliable. Let's forgive him this time. A month's pay cut as punishment. What do you think, Sebastian?" I turned to look at the woman I once loved. Her dark eyes reflected my gaunt face. When had the scales of her affection tipped towards another man? She started to speak, but I cut her off. "I think it's fine. 5 days until next week. Trash belongs in the trash. So do rotten relationships." At midnight, Victoria tiptoed out of the room. Moments later, rustling sounds came from downstairs. In the darkness, I opened my eyes, slowly descending to the garage. Through the door, muffled gasps and moans intertwined. "Sister, you're finally here. I'm going to punish you." Ethan's voice, harsh and urgent. "Sister, am I better or is he?" Victoria's voice, broken and breathless, responded, You are. Be better." I leaned against the wall, my jaw trembling. I clenched my fists, suppressing the urge to pummel Ethan. I thought I had accepted it, but the raw betrayal tore at my heart, leaving me breathless. I was 17 when Victoria and I first got together. I will never forget her tearful joy on her 18th birthday when she accepted my confession. I had never felt such happiness. Now, it only felt like a cruel joke. The sounds inside subsided. "Don't let him see us together again." Victoria's voice echoed. "Be careful next time." I chuckled wryly. Victoria could still remember me. Ethan's voice cut through the air. "Sorry, sister," he said. "I missed you so much besides. Didn't you say you liked being taken everywhere? There were thousands of people behind that curtain today. Thrilling, right? Should we try the park next time?" Victoria's legs were once again wrapped around his waist. She chided, "You're always so full of tricks." Ethan bit her earlobe and asked, "Did you like it, sister?" Victoria winced. "Keep your voice down. Don't wake Sebastian." "Relax," he said. "He sleeps so soundly. He hasn't noticed you're under me every night for half a year." In the midst of another round of breathless gasps, I walked back to my room. Sleep eluded me. I began packing my things. If I was going to disappear, I had to do it cleanly. I counted the years with Victoria. 8 years. When I was 17, she gave me a white shirt saying I looked more like a scholar in it. I was wearing that shirt the day she was bullied, and I protected her. The collar was loose and the fabric yellowed, but I couldn't bear to throw it away. When I turned 18, she gave me a guitar. On her birthday, I played that guitar and confessed my love to her with a song. At 20, we went to Hawaii, taking hundreds of photos on the beach. Every single one captured our sweet smiles. At 22, she won an award and bought a private island, naming it Season Willow Island. At 25, I proposed to her in front of our family and friends, and countless gifts all from her. She was always so generous to me. I carefully packed each item and listed them on a second-hand platform, starting at $1. As dawn broke, I heard frantic footsteps downstairs. Victoria, hair disheveled, one slipper missing, asked, "Sebastian, why did you sell everything I gave you?" She saw someone had bought the $2 million watch for $50. "Sebastian, what's wrong?" The anxiety and apprehension in her eyes were genuine. Her intuition told her something was wrong. I casually said, "Nothing. I saw a news story about an orphanage and wanted to help. I contacted a charity, and all proceeds from the sale will be donated." Victoria breathed a sigh of relief, burying her head in my chest, her voice trembling. "Sebastian, you scared me to death. I thought you were leaving me. If you want to do good deeds, you can tell me. We can donate directly. $1 million, is that enough? We can afford whatever makes you happy." I had no interest in analyzing the truth behind her words. Victoria, like me, had no parents, but she was luckier than me to have found a wife like me. Victoria didn't pick up on the sarcasm, only feeling immense guilt. She vowed to dismiss Ethan after marriage and dedicate herself entirely to me. "Sebastian, let's hold a charity gala," she said. "Invite famous directors and actors and encourage them to donate." My reaction wasn't as enthusiastic as she expected. "Fine," I said indifferently. The gala was set for the next evening, but Victoria didn't come home that day, claiming to be busy with preparations. Ethan, as her driver, naturally followed closely. I didn't question it because Ethan meticulously sent me their itinerary. They went to the park, the grass, the lotus pond, the hillside. A message from Ethan. "Sister said she'll be faithful to you after marriage, so she's been going crazy with me these days, almost draining me dry. Sebastian, do you think she can really only be with you? Someone who's tasted delicacies can't possibly settle for plain porridge." I numbly scrolled through my phone, my temples throbbing. Then came a more devastating blow, a voice message. "I'm pregnant. Please keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone. When the baby is born, I'll have him call you Godfather." It's like a homecoming. Victoria's voice pierced my heart. Victoria was pregnant. No wonder her diet had become bland recently. There were also photos of Ethan accompanying Victoria for prenatal checkups, carefully supporting her, his hand on her belly, like a loving couple. A few days earlier, reporters had photographed Victoria entering an obstetrics and gynecology clinic. sparking heated discussions on social media, almost confirming her as the Monday scandal protagonist. She held a press conference, bringing me, who was still suffering from a stomachache, to the scene. In front of the cameras, she clasped my hands and announced our wedding at the end of the month. She said, "I've always wanted to have a child with Sebastian, but I spent a long time in cold water filming action scenes years ago, and my health hasn't been good. I went to the hospital recently to improve my health and try to have a baby soon." I actually believed her then. Reporters hyped the news. Victoria sacrifices career for love, eager to have a baby, which remained a trending topic. I numbly turned off my phone. Only 4 days left. The charity gala proceeded as scheduled. I appeared in a well-tailored suit, no less impressive than any actor, with some directors even handing me their cards, inviting me to star in their films. A smile remained on my lips. Victoria sensed my unusually calm gaze, like still water, as she waved away my objections. Ethan, her Sebastian, lacked the usual sparkle in his eyes. Her anxiety returned and she approached, reaching for my hand, but I evaded her touch. "There are so many people waiting," I said. "Let's begin the donation ceremony." Victoria's outstretched hand fell short. Then she clapped, signaling the start of the ceremony. Amidst applause, Victoria invited everyone to our wedding. "In 2 weeks," she announced, "Sebastian and I will be married. I sincerely invite you all to witness our happiness." After the ceremony, Victoria arranged for a car service to take me home. "The reception will likely go on for a while," she explained. "I need to socialize a bit longer. Honey, you have a sensitive stomach. Mary made you some porridge. Be sure to eat it when you get home." I nodded, entering the car. But 5 minutes into the ride, a message from Ethan arrived. You won't believe this," it read. I immediately instructed the driver to turn around. "I left something in the ballroom," I said. "Wait for me in the underground parking garage. No need to tell Victoria." Returning to the ballroom, the scene had transformed. Loud music blared, and people mingled, clinking glasses. I immediately spotted Victoria nestled in Ethan's arms. The guests seemed accustomed to their intimacy. A prominent director who moments before had wished me well, now chuckled and teased Victoria. "A sweet wife at home, but quite the player on the side. Your husband's in for a rough ride." I even saw Victoria's younger sister, Sophia, engaged in animated conversation with Ethan. "Brother-in-law," she said warmly. "Is it a boy or a girl?" Victoria corrected her sternly. "Don't call him that. My husband is only Sebastian." Her sister scoffed. "I know you're madly in love with Sebastian. I'm just taking advantage of his absence. Besides, Eth's not a stranger and Mom likes him too." This was a thunderbolt. Victoria's mother, Catherine, knew about Ethan. I was the only one kept in the dark, a fool played by the entire family. Victoria replied, "Whether Sebastian is here or not, he's still your brother-in-law. Don't call him that again." Her sister mumbled, "Okay, sir, do you want to go inside?" a server asked. I waved my hand and fled, the commotion drawing Victoria's attention. She seemed to glimpse someone resembling me, leaping up and pushing Ethan away, rushing towards the exit. The corridor was empty. Was she mistaken? She questioned a server, asking if they'd seen a well-dressed gentleman. After a moment's thought, the server shook their head. "I saw a gentleman, but his tie was loosened, his hair was disheveled, and his face was pale. He certainly wasn't well-dressed." Still uneasy, Victoria called the driver, who replied, "Ms. Liu, Mr. G has been in the car the whole time. We're almost home." Victoria returned to the ballroom distracted. Though both the server and the driver denied it, the figure had been too similar to Sebastian. She couldn't bear to imagine Sebastian's reaction to her and Ethan. "Sister, what's wrong?" Ethan, like a rutting animal, leaned down. Victoria had no desire to engage him. She needed to go home and confirm Sebastian hadn't returned. But Ethan's skillful hands roamed her thighs, igniting her desire. She consoled herself. "They're getting married at the end of the month. Everything will be settled. Once desire takes hold, It's hard to relinquish." She looped her arms around his neck. Ethan understood and swept her into his arms, carrying her into a nearby private room amidst knowing glances. A car stopped smoothly in the garage. I pulled out my phone. Ethan requested a video call. I dismissed the driver, activated the recording function, and heard a voice, eighth, gentler. Victoria's replied, "Sister, is he as good as me?" Ethan's eyes were fixed on the camera, looking directly at me. The next morning, I awoke to a strong, pungent aroma. The entire house was filled with lilies. I'm allergic to lily pollen. I tried to call for help, but my throat was constricted, rendering me speechless. Ethan stood amidst the lilies, watching me with malevolent intent. "Mr. G," he said, "Sister's latest movie won an award. Don't you think these flowers are beautiful?" I wanted to open a window, but I couldn't move. A burning sensation in my eyes accompanied the suffocation. I collapsed on the stairs. I woke up the next day in a hospital, still slightly short of breath. Small, red rashes dotted my exposed neck. Victoria, her hair disheveled, her eyes bruised, had felt intense anxiety on set that morning. After informing the director, she rushed home. Opening the door, she found me unconscious. On the way to the hospital, her fear reached its peak. Seeing my pale face, closed eyes, and the rash covering my body, she wept. "Sebastian, please don't die. I can't live without you." As I was wheeled into the emergency room, Victoria turned and slapped Ethan hard across the face. Victoria yelled, "Sebastian is allergic to lilies. Don't you know? Are you trying to kill him?" Ethan, covering his face, feigned innocence. "Sister, I was so happy about your award. I forgot about Mr. Sebastian's allergy. I just wanted you to feel my congratulations the moment you got home." Seeing Ethan's good intentions, Victoria, whose face was already swollen from her slap, relented. She stayed by my side all night without closing her eyes, finally falling asleep at dawn. "Sebastian, you're awake. You scared me half to death." Her voice was hoarse as she collapsed onto my chest, crying. I let her hold me. "Did I almost die?" I asked. Victoria froze, then said after a long silence, "Sebastian, it's all my fault. I asked Eth to decorate the house for the celebration dinner. Who knew he'd forget about your lily allergy?" I looked at the genuine pain on Victoria's face and asked, "Where's Ethan?" "He knows he messed up," she said. "I slapped him. He's in the next room applying ointment." A clever ploy. "Sebastian, Eth didn't mean to do it. I've already scolded and hit him. I've sent him back to his hometown for a few days to keep him out of your sight." She was still making excuses for her lover. I asked Victoria, "Will you fall in love with someone else?" The question startled her. Her inner anxiety and fear resurfaced. Lately she felt I had changed but couldn't pinpoint how. I stared at her, the woman I'd loved for 8 years. The thought of destroying our relationship was complex. I wanted to know if she had any remorse, if she was willing to be honest about her relationship with Ethan, but a dog that eats shit rarely turns good. "Sure enough," she said, "how could I? I'll only ever love you. And you can't love anyone else either." She spoke so sincerely, as if she'd never wronged me. I gave her a chance, but she failed. I wouldn't be lenient anymore. Since Ethan wanted my life, it was time for a showdown. Seeing my expression soften, Victoria snuggled against me, recalling our sweet memories. For a while, due to Victoria's demanding career, we were often apart. But no matter how late or tired we were, we called each other every day. Later, Victoria begged me to quit my job. "Making music is so tiring. I can't bear to see you so worn out. And I have endless acting jobs. I can support us both." I couldn't resist her persistent pleas. I painfully disbanded my band, abandoned my musical dreams, and devoted myself to her, becoming her man behind the scenes. My friends joked that I was a house husband, some pitying me. I had so much musical talent yet. I said, in a relationship, someone has to make sacrifices. I couldn't bear for her to give up her acting. I listened quietly, but her phone kept ringing. She ignored it, but it rang again. Finally, she answered. From a distance, I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw the change in Victoria's eyes. Her normally pure gaze was gradually ignited with desire. Before she hung up, I received a message from Ethan. "Mr. Sebastian, I feel so bad for hitting sister. I'm inviting her to your wedding suite. Guess if she'll come." He just said he went back home, but he went to the new house. Victoria approached me with a look of apology. "Sorry, honey, the crew needs a reshoot." I said calmly, "Victoria, you're a movie star. I want to ask, can love be acted?" Victoria's heart tightened. Then she thought she was overthinking and laughed. Of course, otherwise. How could so many films captivate us? I asked, "What about you? How's your acting? Aren't you acting with me?" She playfully tugged at my hand. Who could act for 8 years, fakes, become real? If I were that talented, I'd have an Oscar by now. 8 years. I believe she loved me, maybe she still does, but that's no excuse for her betrayal. I know when to walk away. Victoria couldn't decipher my expression. It once held so much love for her, now it was empty. She suddenly hesitated. She felt a strong sense of loss. Then Ethan called again. His voice was playfully arrogant. "Sister, I learned new tricks. Want to try them out? The wedding invitations are already sent out. What could go wrong?" She suppressed her anxiety and said softly, "I promise to finish the reshoot quickly. It won't delay our wedding. Get some rest. I'm looking forward to becoming your bride." I watched her leave, muttering, "Victoria, goodbye." 3 seconds later, Ethan called. It was his first time directly taunting and provoking me. "Sebastian, I'm lying in your wedding bed now. I even prepared a bunny girl outfit for sister." Victoria was admitted to the emergency room. Her sister didn't even bother to visit. "At your wedding," I said slowly, "one phone call from me, and your sister would have abandoned you, wouldn't she?" Ethan's provocations had gone unanswered, but it was all coming to an end. "Ethan," I said, "you're a pathetic clown. I'm giving up the groom's position. Victoria, I'm done." Victoria left for 3 days. Ethan's messages never stopped. Photos surfaced. Victoria's legs wrapped around Ethan's waist. Intimate moments in a hotel room, their used protection, all meticulously packaged and sent to the paparazzi. I also compiled Victoria's financial irregularities and emailed them to the relevant authorities for Monday morning. Got into a black town car, passing Victoria's SUV. One last look at her, then I put on my sunglasses. "Let's go," I said. By the time the paparazzi exposed Victoria's infidelity, I'd be halfway across the Atlantic. Her reputation would be ruined, and I would have a fresh start. In what was supposed to be my wedding suite with Victoria, she was crying, begging for mercy. But Ethan was relentless, his actions brutal. A muffled groan. Victoria's legs fell limp. "What's wrong with you?" she sobbed, pointing at the bruises. "You're not being gentle at all." Ethan, panting, replied, "You're marrying Sebastian in a few days. We don't have much time left to be crazy." Victoria noticed the discarded protection on the nightstand. Her face hardened. "Ethan," she hissed, "stop playing games. Clean this up." Ethan, a glint of ambition in his eyes, having already sent the compromising photos and videos, leaned in again. "Haven't you considered leaving him and marrying me?" Victoria's expression turned cold. "Impossible. I love Sebastian. You can't hold a candle to him. Don't even dream about it." Ethan wasn't fazed. "What good is Sebastian's love? He already knows about your affair for 6 months. Will he still love you? If you don't cause any trouble, I'll give you a large sum of money after I marry Sebastian. Enough for you to get married and have a family," Victoria replied. Ethan's kisses trailed from her lips down, until the next morning. Victoria finally got up. During a break on set, she checked her phone on silent. Besides a few work messages, there were none from Sebastian. Uneasy, she texted him, "Sebastian, I miss you. but she received no reply. Her phone showed full signal, yet a growing unease settled in her heart. The phone rang. Hearing my hello, she relaxed slightly. "Sebastian, why aren't you answering my messages?" I had just landed in Austria. She asked again, "Sebastian, where are you? Why aren't you answering?" "I went for a run," I replied. "What's up? Filming wraps soon. Can you take me on a trip afterwards?" she asked, her voice soft. "Your birthday is next Monday," I said. "I have a present for you." "What is it?" she asked eagerly. "You'll have to open it to find out," I replied. "Go get back to work. I'll be waiting for you at home." She continued her sugary endearments, making me nauseous. If it weren't for the immigration paperwork taking 2 more days, I wouldn't have taken her call. I endured it, stringing her along. Victoria was certain I wouldn't leave her, even if she committed unforgivable errors. As soon as we hung up, Ethan video called. Behind him was a set of flogging equipment. Victoria blushed, biting her lip. "Master, wait for me," she whispered. She had forgotten her acting obligations, leaving the set without a word to rush to her lover. It was Victoria's birthday weekend. She said she'd come home to celebrate with me, but halfway there, Ethan called, claiming he had appendicitis. Victoria turned back and rushed him to the hospital. After a checkup, it was deemed a mild case. "It's chronic appendicitis," she soothed him. "Just need some shots. Tell me if you need anything. I'll have it sent over." Ethan wouldn't let go of her. "Sister," he said, "you're getting married soon. Can't you let me spend your last birthday with you?" A flicker of desire crossed Victoria's eyes, but she remembered Sebastian waiting at home. "It's just a birthday," she said. "I'll come see you after I celebrate with Sebastian. Wait for me." She broke free and walked away. Ethan, desperate, jumped out of bed to stop her. "Sister," he pleaded, "I bought a nurse's uniform. Can you wear it for me?" He gestured downward as he spoke. Victoria let out a soft hum. Ethan scooped her up in his arms. "Nurse," he said, "come and check me up." Moments later, a woman's soft moans mingled with a man's muffled grunts. A patient in the next room, a fan of Victoria's, wanted an autograph. She opened the door, only to be startled by the scene before her. Blushing crimson, she quickly retreated. She was sure she hadn't mistaken the woman, but the man entwined with her wasn't her fiancé. Confused, she secretly took out her phone and started recording. Ethan was indeed a skilled lover. His technique was impeccable, leaving Victoria breathless with pleasure. Their passionate encounter ended near dawn. Victoria reluctantly said goodbye to Ethan. In the car, the cool night air blowing in through the window brought her back to reality. Regret washed over her. She hadn't resisted Ethan's charm. She'd promised Sebastian she'd be home for his birthday, but it was 15 minutes to midnight. His birthday would be over. She slammed the accelerator, speeding home. She didn't even bother closing the car door before rushing into the house. "Sebastian, I'm back. I'm so sorry I was delayed by work." The villa was eerily silent save for her own rapid breathing. She switched on all the lights, taking in the scene. A wave of intense unease washed over her. Victoria stood at the foot of the stairs for a moment before slowly climbing upstairs. She opened the bedroom door and saw a gift box on the bed. She hastily opened it. Inside were used condoms and an ultrasound report from a hospital. Victoria's head spun and her vision blurred. The usually composed woman trembled uncontrollably. She shakily pulled out a note from under the box. It read, in familiar handwriting, "I've collected your offspring for you, Ethan. Don't mention it. Goodbye." Her legs gave way, and she slumped to the floor. After a long while, she tremblingly dialed my number. The cold, mechanical voice on the other end of the phone was jarring in the quiet night. "The subscriber you are trying to reach is unavailable. Please try again later." The clock downstairs chimed 12. Her birthday had passed. "Mr. Jones, the paperwork is complete. Here are your documents." "Welcome to Austria," a voice said. I gazed at the distant Alps. This was truly a place to start anew. I smiled my thanks. Victoria, distraught, ran downstairs and sped off in her car. Ethan had just fallen asleep when the bedroom door was kicked open. He frowned, opening his eyes, ready to yell at the intruder, only to see Victoria standing there. A mischievous smile crept across his face. "Sister, didn't you get enough?" He smirked, knowing Victoria wouldn't leave him alone on his birthday. He'd known she'd be back. The actress would eventually become his wife. He reached for her, but she slapped him across the face. Ethan touched his burning cheek in disbelief. "Sister, are you crazy? Why did you hit me?" Victoria's eyes blazed with fury. "Did you deliberately show those things to Sebastian?" Ethan vehemently denied it. "I didn't do anything, sister. Believe me." "Liar!" Victoria snatched his phone. She saw their messages, images, videos, audios. Ethan's taunts and boasts over the past 2 months chilled her to the bone. She threw the phone to the ground and screamed, "I warned you not to let Sebastian find out. You sent him those disgusting things. You're going to die." She grabbed the IV stand and hurled it at Ethan. He groaned as it hit his back. "Sister, why are you so cruel? Are you trying to kill me?" The on-duty doctors, nurses, and other patients rushed to investigate the commotion. At first, they weren't sure the woman was Victoria, but she announced herself. The entire floor gathered to watch. Victoria wanted to kill Ethan, even though she carried his child. The thought of the baby struck her. She'd always insisted on protection, so how had she gotten pregnant? It had to be Ethan's doing. He'd even bought a room full of lilies, nearly killing Sebastian. She now understood Ethan's ambition. He feigned innocence, but secretly plotted behind her back. The pain was unbearable. How heartbroken Sebastian must be. She had to bring Ethan to Sebastian, to let him explain. She wasn't willingly involved. She'd been manipulated. Sebastian would forgive her. He had to. "Stay put," she yelled, pointing at Ethan. "I'll find Sebastian, and then you can beg him for forgiveness." Ethan, wincing from the blow, was. Victoria stubbornly insisted, "Sister, I truly did nothing wrong. I genuinely love you." Ethan's deep gaze met Victoria's cold stare, causing him to involuntarily tremble. Victoria replied, "Ethan, I only love Sebastian. As for you, you're nothing but a pathetic gold-digging loser. Do you think bringing those things to Sebastian will make me marry you? Impossible. I, Victoria, will never marry a man who relies on women for his success." Whispers and murmurs grew louder outside the room. Someone commented, "No wonder she looks familiar. It's Tori, the actress. That man in the bed is her lover." Another added, "This actress is so shameless." Ethan, furious, punched the bed, gritting his teeth and cursing Sebastian, wishing him dead. Victoria, leaving harsh words behind, stormed out of the hospital room. She needed to find Sebastian and explain everything. But would Sebastian forgive her? On her way out, her phone vibrated incessantly. It was Jenny, her agent. After listening to Jenny, Victoria asked, "What trending topic?" Confused, she opened Weibo. The hashtags actress Victoria Keats with driver, innocent Victoria's infidelity, and one Thibault explosive content were trending. Climbing rapidly, Victoria slammed on the brakes, stopping in the middle of the road, her eyes fixated on the pictures and videos. Her blood ran cold. The comments were even more brutal. Netizens commented, "She looks like a total homewrecker, not an innocent flower, more like a heartless black lotus. Even Goddess Victoria has fallen from grace." Others dug up her Twitter account, revealing a stark contrast between her public persona and private life. Several unknown actresses came forward claiming Victoria had encouraged them to be exploited by directors. The comments were scathing. Jenny screamed over the phone, "Victoria, you better have a good explanation." Cars honked behind her. Victoria leaped out, kicking a taillight. The other driver, equally enraged, called the police. Another hashtag appeared. Actress Victoria arrested for reckless driving. In the holding cell, Victoria went wild, throwing things and refusing to cooperate. "Give me my phone. My husband is missing." The officers, having already seen the infidelity news on Weibo, scoffed at her. One said, "You reap what you sow. If I were your husband, I'd never forgive you." Victoria finally broke down, sobbing on the floor. "Please let me go. I need to find Sebastian." Regret washed over her. It all started with a drunken night. Ethan drove her home and kissed her, and she didn't stop him. One kiss wasn't cheating, she thought. Then a hug wasn't cheating. Her boundaries gradually eroded. Over 8 years, Victoria rose from an unknown extra to a top actress. She had many admirers, but her heart belonged only to Sebastian. Ethan, however, was different from Sebastian's reserved demeanor. His charm captivated her. He was like a starving beast, ravaging her repeatedly in her limousine until exhaustion. Afterward, she regretted giving in and feared Sebastian would discover her infidelity. She loved him dearly, she couldn't lose him. Victoria transferred Ethan a large sum of money, hoping he'd disappear, but he refused. He said he wanted nothing but to stay with her. He pleaded, "Sister, I'll be good. I don't need to be your husband, just don't leave me." Victoria said, "But I have a boyfriend. We're getting married soon." Ethan sensed her hesitation, gripping her waist. He said, "Sister, you're a famous actress and wealthy. It's not the old days. Having a lover is normal." He hit the nail on the head. She rationalized that as long as she married Sebastian, it wouldn't be infidelity. She treated Ethan as an outlet for work stress, never intending a serious relationship. But Ethan was right. Once accustomed to luxury, she couldn't settle for less. Her boldness grew, ultimately leading to her downfall. She whispered, "Sebastian, I deserve it." I slept until noon, hummed while getting ready, and leisurely opened my Twitter, watching the trending topics climb. I felt a sense of revenge against Victoria and regret for the imperfect ending to our 8-year relationship. But overnight, the tide turned so quickly. Those fans who had been shouting, "Sister is the best," fiercely turned against her, exposing a flood of Victoria's scandals. Diva behavior on set, disappearing mid-shoot, suppressing newcomers, deleting other scenes, double-booking herself. I even found a video someone uploaded of Victoria slapping Ethan in the hospital. The former A-list actress had fallen from grace, her reputation in tatters. But none of it concerned me anymore. I deleted my Twitter account and logged out of all the apps I had under my name. I erased all traces of the past, starting fresh and clean. Victoria was taken out of the police station by her agent Jenny the next morning. She said, "Jenny, can you arrange a press conference for me? I want to apologize to Sebastian. I need to know where he is." Almost overnight, Victoria had lost a significant amount of weight, looking haggard. Her agent, exasperated, rolled her eyes. "Right. Now the most important thing is clearing up your relationship with that driver. As for Sebastian, I'm already looking for him." Victoria said, but her agent interrupted, "If you don't apologize and clear things up, even if we find Sebastian, is there any chance for you to?" That snapped Victoria back to reality. "Then, arrange it quickly. I'll immediately clarify my relationship with Ethan." Her agent offered some comfort. "Don't rush. People have short attention spans. Let the heat die down a bit before holding the press conference." Victoria nodded, closing her eyes. The most urgent thing was finding Sebastian. She would get down on her knees and beg him to help her clear up the scandal at the press conference. He wouldn't want to ruin her prized acting career. Back home, looking at the empty mansion, Victoria felt a mix of emotions. Before moving here, they had squeezed into a cramped 500-square-foot apartment for 3 years. Back then, Victoria's career was just starting. Sebastian had disbanded his band to fully support her. She kept failing auditions, becoming despondent and wanting to switch careers. It was Sebastian who constantly encouraged her. "Victoria, you're professionally trained and talented. I believe you'll succeed." That year, for Sebastian's birthday, Victoria took his hand and led him to this villa. "Sebastian," she said, "this will be our home." They embraced tightly, envisioning a bright future. They hand in hand picked furniture, slowly transforming the cold house into a warm home. The house remained the same, but without Sebastian it felt cold again. Their wedding photo still hung in the center of the living room. Sebastian looked so happy, but her eyes lacked sincerity. That was the time she was deeply involved with Ethan. After the wedding photos, she rushed off to meet him. Had Sebastian already suspected something was wrong? A sharp pain pierced her heart. Tears streamed down her face as memories flooded back. Suddenly, she found a used contraceptive in the trash can by her bed. Ethan always threw them away in the master bedroom's trash can after their encounters, a provocation, a show of dominance. Once she found Sebastian, she would tear Ethan apart in front of him. Victoria called Sebastian several times, but his phone was always off. Desperately, she called Sebastian's friends, pleading for his whereabouts. But they responded with scorn. "You still have the nerve to look for Sebastian? Have you wiped your behind clean? I was happy for you, and Sebastian, thinking he gave up music for you was worthwhile. But it turns out you betrayed him. Even if I knew where he was, I wouldn't tell you, you slut." The insults poured out. Victoria listened silently, unable to retort. Ultimately, everyone said they didn't know. Sebastian had vanished, disappearing without a trace. Victoria even hired a private investigator. She would spend every cent to find him. Sophia said she was obsessed. "It's just Sebastian, sister. Why are you so fixated on him? You're carrying Eth's child." Victoria, in a fit of rage, slapped her sister and threw her out. Victoria, her eyes hollow, sat alone in her bedroom all night. She whispered, "Sebastian, where are you?" She suddenly remembered Sebastian had been reading a magazine lately, a magazine called. She ransacked the house, finally finding the dog-eared copy of Music World in a corner of the storage room. Sebastian's fingerprints seemingly still warm on the pages. She traced his annotations, pausing on the page detailing Vienna's University of Music and Performing Arts. Victoria raced to the airport, slapping her ID and passport on the counter. "I need the next flight to Austria," she demanded. "I'm sorry, ma'am, you're barred from leaving the country." Victoria then learned that her infidelity scandal had triggered an official investigation into her finances. Her property and vehicles were frozen. Despair washed over her as she watched her flight to Austria and Sebastian slip away. I had planned a honeymoon with Victoria, Vienna being our first stop. Now, she was completely out of my life. While my long-held musical dreams were within reach, I'd passed the preliminary audition for the vocal and opera performance program at the Vienna University of Music and Performing Arts. I cycled between my apartment and school, immersing myself in German and dramatic arts, preparing for the final audition. In early October, autumn painted Vienna in shades of amber. One evening, seated at a street-side cafe, I video-called a few friends back home. "Sebastian, you finally remembered us," one exclaimed. "How are you?" I reversed the camera, showcasing the church and foreign streets. Congratulations poured in. "Sebastian, we knew you weren't that fragile. You can conquer anything you set your mind to." I've had few close friends, but each bond spans decades. When Victoria's infidelity went viral, they were frantic, fearing I'd do something rash. Seeing my smile and the light in my eyes, they knew I'd won this battle. I strolled through Vienna's streets, chatting with my friends, beyond, asking about my adjustment to life abroad. Our conversation centered on Victoria and Ethan. As the scandal cooled, the company scheduled a press conference for Victoria. The venue was packed. Reporters were eager for a headline. Victoria, with dark circles under her eyes, disheveled hair and ill-fitting clothes, sat down. Questions bombarded her. "You cultivated an image of a pure, innocent woman, yet you were involved with your driver. What do you have to say to your fiancé and fans? You've played deeply devoted characters. Did you feel guilty while filming? You were engaged to Sebastian after an 8-year courtship. Don't you feel regret? These reporters, usually respectful, were relentlessly aggressive. Victoria's face was pale. She flinched from the flashbulbs. Her publicist took the microphone. Victoria and Ethan have no romantic relationship. We suspect Ethan used AI-generated images and videos to coerce her. We'll pursue legal action. Victoria, prompted by her publicist, said, Ethan and I are just colleagues. Claims of intimacy are fabrications. I'm soon to be married, and I don't want this to affect our wedding. A reporter asked, You were always with Ethan. Did you consider your fiancé's feelings? Victoria's heart sank. I pitied him, a recent college graduate struggling in the city, so I hired him as my driver. I never imagined his betrayal. Suddenly a voice cut through the room. The betrayal was yours. Victoria! Ethan had unexpectedly appeared, pulling out his phone. He displayed explicit chat logs between him and Victoria. Victoria is pregnant with my child. The revelation surpassed the initial scandal. The reporters relentlessly questioned Victoria. What about Sebastian? Can he clarify? Are you pregnant? How can you prove the child isn't Ethan's? Overwhelmed, Victoria stormed to the cameras. Sebastian, I'm sorry. Please don't leave me. It was Ethan. He forced me. Sebastian, I love you. I swear I only love you. Her publicist couldn't stop her descent into madness. The press conference is adjourned. Follow our studio's social media for updates. They tried to pull Victoria away, but she struggled, kneeling before the cameras, begging for help finding Sebastian. Her eyes were bloodshot, fixed on Ethan. Victoria was shoved to the ground in the chaos. She gasped in pain, her vision blurring. Help me. Help him. Heard it all but felt nothing. Victoria and Ethan were nothing to me anymore. I would never see their repulsive faces again. Few days later, my landlord, Mr. Jones, gave me a movie ticket. I decided to relax after studying and went to see a romantic film. It told the story of a couple who fell in love at first sight, separated by a misunderstanding, and ultimately found their way back to each other. As the end credits rolled, the audience around me wept. A girl my age seated next to me was surprised by my composure. Sir, she asked, aren't you moved? What a beautiful love story. I shook my head. I experienced love at first sight just like in the movie with Victoria, I said. But she couldn't hold on to that love. It all went bad. 8 years of my youth, from 17 to 25, wasted. How can I believe in love anymore? I only want to dedicate myself to my music, no more romance. Meanwhile, back in the hospital, Victoria was showing signs of miscarriage. Doctors managed to save the baby. Ethan sat in the hallway, consumed by regret. If he hadn't been so greedy, if he hadn't provoked Sebastian, he might have continued as Victoria's secret lover, living comfortably, though not openly. Now they were completely estranged. He was exposed online for using his actress friend Tori's name to harass other actresses on social media, and even secretly filming female students in the dorm during college. The scandal destroyed his career. He was desperate, clinging to Victoria. He immediately called Catherine, Victoria's mother. You don't want your daughter labeled a single mother, do you? Especially with a child without a father. It would be humiliating for her. There's only one solution: Victoria marries me. Maybe it'll save her career. The news continued to ferment. Victoria's agency, Heavenly Heart Entertainment, saw its stock plummet. The executives held an emergency meeting, and eventually her agency released a statement unilaterally terminating their contract with her. Everyone turned against her. Advertisers canceled contracts, citing breach of contract and demanding hefty compensation. The internet exploded with calls for Victoria to leave the entertainment industry. Her movies, TV shows, and variety shows were pulled from streaming platforms. Many celebrities followed suit, condemning Victoria online. She became a pariah. Faced with massive debts, Victoria sold her assets, but it was far from enough. Every phone call was a torment. Angry creditors, abusive callers. Each unknown number made her heart leap. Was it Sebastian? Each time disappointment. "It's your father," the caller would say. But she couldn't change her number or turn off her phone. She was afraid of missing a call from Sebastian. Sleepless nights took their toll. She moved from her luxurious villa to a cramped apartment in the suburbs, sharing 50 square meters with her mother and sister. Catherine feared Victoria having a child without a father and brought Ethan to live with them. Ethan, taking advantage of Victoria's pregnancy, bossed Catherine and Sophia around. "If you keep me comfortable," he said, "I might consider marrying Victoria. Otherwise, she'll be ruined." Catherine, nearing 70, had to care for Victoria and Ethan. She cried every day and soon fell ill. Victoria knelt by her mother's bedside, repenting. "Mom, I'm so unfilial. I've caused you so much suffering." Catherine regretted her past advice. "I always urged you to marry someone from a suitable background. Sebastian was an orphan. He wasn't good for your career. I regret it now. He was a good son-in-law." Mother and daughter wept. Ethan yelled at them, "Stop your melodrama. Give me $100,000. I need a new car." Sophia pleaded, "Ethan, Mom's sick and my sister is drowning in debt. We don't have that kind of money." Ethan didn't believe them. "She makes millions from a 30-second commercial, tens of millions from a variety show," he sneered. "How can she be broke?" They cried poverty, but he remained unconvinced. "I don't care. If you don't give me the money, I'll go to the media and ruin her career." Victoria stared coldly at Ethan. She was blinded by her love for him, and now she was paying the price. She transferred the only $10,000 left in her account. "Here," she said, "take it and leave. Don't ever let me see you again." Ethan, receiving the money, changed his tune completely. "Sister," he said, it was all family. I was just venting. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Mom." Victoria clamped her mouth shut, watching her belly and trying to hide the malice in her eyes. Sebastian had suffered, and she would make Ethan pay tenfold. Dawn, I received a transatlantic call. Sebastian and Mary had been in a car accident. Mary was the matron of the orphanage where I grew up. In my memory, she was so gentle and kind, treating every child like her own. She was my only relative in this world. A few days ago, she was sideswiped by a runaway car. Every year, Victoria used to accompany me back to the orphanage to visit Mary. We'd always bring a truckload of supplies for the unfortunate orphans. Mary would look at me with a smile and say, "Sebastian, seeing you so happy makes me feel at ease." She also held Victoria's hand and said, "Sebastian is a kind boy. You made the right choice." Victoria swore at that time, "I will only love you for the rest of my life. Otherwise, may I be ruined and die a horrible death." But it was only a year before Victoria broke her vow. She deserved to be ruined. I said, "Tell Mary I'll be back tomorrow." After hanging up, a pang of sadness hit me. Luckily, my interview was still some time away. I immediately booked a flight back home for the next day. After a long flight, I returned to my homeland after 2 months. Without rest, I rushed to the hospital. Seeing Mary's emaciated form in the bed, I felt immense guilt. For the past 6 months, I'd been entangled with Victoria and Ethan's affairs, and I hadn't even checked on her. I immediately hired a nurse and stayed to take care of her. The doctor said Mary was stable, so I planned to take her to Austria for retirement out around. The corner, I saw Sophia sitting on a bench outside the maternity ward. Then the nurse called the next patient's number. I saw that the pregnant woman next to Sophia was Victoria. After helping Victoria into the examination room, Sophia turned and saw me. Her expression froze. "Brother-in-law," she said. Sophia rushed over. "Brother-in-law, is that really you?" She grabbed my sleeve, tears welling up in her eyes. I looked at her coldly. "I'm not your brother-in-law anymore. You're mistaken." She said, "Brother-in-law, Sebastian, my sister really knows she's wrong. After you left, Mom fell ill. My sister owes a lot of money. Even worse, Ethan is refusing to leave our house. Mom and I have to take care of him. My poor sister is working odd jobs to make money while pregnant. Brother-in-law, you have to help us." Sophia's tears flowed freely as she recounted their family's misfortunes. I broke free from her grip. "But what does this have to do with me?" Sophia was stunned. "Sebastian, how can you be so heartless?" "Heartless? The current situation is their family's own doing. No one else is to blame. If you still have any regard for me, pretend you didn't see me," I said when I returned to the ward. Mary had just woken up. "Sebastian, why are you here alone? Where's Victoria?" Mary didn't know about Victoria's affair. Her health wasn't good, and I didn't want to upset her with this. "She's busy with work. You know how it is with actresses. They're on set for months at a time," I said. But Mary saw the distress in my expression. "Sebastian, Mary can't help you, but whatever decision you make, I support you." My heart ached. Everyone could see I'd lost weight. Something was clearly wrong. I told Mary everything about Victoria's infidelity. Mary held my hand with sympathy. "As soon as I saw you, I knew you hadn't been doing well. 8 years. That Victoria girl. She's so foolish." I feigned lightness. "It's all in the past, Mom. I've started a new life. I applied to music school and I'm waiting for my interview. I'm planning to bring you to Austria to live with me." Concern still lingered in Mary's eyes. "My dear boy, can you really let it go?" I smiled with relief. "Yes, I have." I coaxed Mary to sleep and noticed a figure pacing outside the ward. I opened the door and saw Victoria. Sebastian, even at less than 10 feet away, I didn't recognize her at first. Victoria's dull eyes lit up instantly when she saw me. "Sebastian, it's really you. Sophia said she saw you at the hospital. I didn't believe her." Victoria excitedly tried to rush into my arms, but I quickly stepped back, creating distance. Victoria looked at me incredulously. My retreat stung her. She'd been having nightmares, desperately missing me, and finally here I was. But for countless days, Victoria had regretted her actions. She believed that if she could only see me, explain everything, I would return to her. Only now did Victoria truly realize she was about to lose me. Her voice trembling, she asked, "Sebastian, don't you love me anymore?" Not wanting to wake Mary, I turned to go downstairs. Victoria followed closely, pleading, "Sebastian, let me explain. Ethan forced me at first. I admit I'm a coward. I thought I'd just give in once, but he wouldn't leave me alone. I never intended for anything serious to happen. You've had stomach problems and poor health for years, so I remained speechless. She had instead gotten Ethan to do it." I stood there, watching her mouth move, unable to utter the words. The irony. She considered my health, but did she ever consider my heart? When I saw the pictures Ethan sent, the woman posing provocatively was Victoria. My world crumbled. My body stiffened, my stomach churning with nausea. What was Victoria doing at that moment? She was beneath Ethan, allowing him to satisfy his lust. Ethan was the aggressor, but did that make Victoria innocent? She could have refused. Even after her first encounter with Ethan, she had a chance to turn back, but she didn't. Ethan gave her excuse after excuse to fall. "Victoria," I said darkly, "do you even believe your own words? Even if he forced you at first, you chose to continue your affair with Ethan right under my nose. Every night, while you two were together, I was upstairs. I saw and heard everything. I thought those painful memories had faded, but the pain was still sharp and intense. Faced with my accusations, Victoria was mortified. "Sebastian, I'm so sorry for hurting you. Can you give me another chance?" She tried to take my hand, but I pulled away. "Don't touch me," I said. "I'm afraid of getting sick." Despair washed over Victoria. She knelt, begging, "Sebastian, just give me another chance. I'll do anything." But she'd forgotten what she had left to offer: money, status, or her now tainted body. I sneered, "Keep your soiled body for Ethan." Victoria froze, my disgust a dagger piercing her heart. Only after I left did she stumble to her feet. She chuckled bitterly. "Sebastian was right. I should have known better." she muttered to herself as she walked away. What I sow, I reap. What I sow, I reap. Due to a massive breach of contract, Victoria, heavily pregnant, was forced to take odd jobs to make ends meet. What could a pregnant woman do? She wanted an abortion, but her mother, Catherine, refused. Desperate, she returned to her old profession, auditioning relentlessly. But her reputation was ruined. Directors avoided her like the plague. She waited outside studios before dawn, competing with extras for roles. Regular extras earned $200 a day. She got $100 and was even verbally abused by them. She finally landed a non-speaking role as a maid, her lunch a single box of white rice. She approached the crew. "Could I have some soup?" She was mocked. "Should I get you a 4-course meal, Your Highness?" The former Tory. The actress sat in a corner, eating rice with tap water, starving by the end of the day. Then she was told she wouldn't be paid because her scenes had been cut. "You're a disgraced actress. We should be suing you for lost time. Get out." She ended up playing corpses, gruesome ones at that one. Day, she received a call for an audition. $500 a day. Interested? Thrilled. Victoria didn't even ask about the role. She accepted immediately. She knelt before her mother's hospital bed. "Mom, I have a role. Please hold on. I'll make the most of it." Then she went to see me. "Sebastian, just wait. I'll make a comeback. I'll cleanse myself." I only felt weariness. Victoria, meeting the director, was obsequious, a shadow of her former self. After the details were settled, she was taken for hair and makeup. The crew asked, "With so many actresses to choose from, why her? Her reputation is terrible." The director smirked. "The investor specifically requested Victoria. The role is." He laughed. "I can't wait to see the former pure and innocent flower." The makeup artist applied thick foundation, vibrant blue and green eyeshadow, and a bold red lip to Victoria. The exaggerated makeup made her look increasingly bizarre. She couldn't help but ask, "What character am I playing?" The makeup artist, aware of Victoria's scandalous affair, simply rolled her eyes and said, "I don't know." Victoria wisely kept quiet. She thought as long as she could act, even as a beggar or a thief, she would do it, until she put on a leopard print shorts and a halter top. Arriving at the set, she didn't know her role was a streetwalker. Victoria gritted her teeth and continued. Sophia, a former D-list actress who was once beneath Victoria's notice, had now become a top star. She sneered, Well, if it isn't Victoria, the great actress, fallen so far as to play a streetwalker." "Ha ha!" Her mockery prompted laughter from the crew. Victoria's face burned with shame, but she couldn't react. She just stood there, forcing a smile. The first scene required her to stand in a red light district soliciting clients. Victoria endured the humiliation, striking a decidedly tawdry pose. Sophia condescendingly delivered her line, "You don't know how to stay clean, do you? Any man will climb all over you. Pathetic." A portly man walked over and embraced her, eliciting another round of laughter from the crew. Victoria remembered Sebastian's words, "I'm afraid of getting sick. Stay away from me, you dirty thing." She broke down, crying, "Why are you doing this to me?" From a distance, the investor, arms crossed, sneered, "Why? Don't you know what you've done? You're a disgrace." On the phone, a friend said, "Getting revenge for me. Ethan, you wouldn't believe how ugly Victoria looks as a streetwalker." "Ha ha ha ha." I chuckled along, then said, "Thanks, man, but I'm really done with her." After hanging up, a newsfeed popped up. "Former actress reduced to streetwalker, breaks down on set." The comments were merciless. "Serves her right. She should play a streetwalker for her cheating ways. I'll do this role for free, just to touch the pure little flower. Victoria doesn't deserve to act." I arrived at the hospital room and heard Victoria's voice. "Mary, it's Vicky." Victoria knelt before Mary's bed, weeping. Mary gave her a cold look. "After what you did, what are you doing here?" "Mary, I'm truly sorry. Please help me talk to Sebastian. I can't lose him." Victoria rambled, expressing remorse and swearing to love only Sebastian for the rest of her life. Mary eventually softened and said, "Sebastian told me you're pregnant. Vicky, listen to me. Settle down." Victoria repeated dazedly, "Child, child." She looked at her stomach. Yes, if it weren't for Ethan's child, would Sebastian forgive her? I didn't want Mary to be disturbed. I opened the door coldly. "Leave. Don't bother Mary again, or me." Victoria grabbed my hand, her eyes shining. "Sebastian, if I get rid of Ethan's child, will you forgive me?" Looking at the distraught Victoria, I called security. "There's a crazy woman here. Take her away." As security escorted her away, she kept muttering about revenge. The person who hurt him most was Victoria herself. I had a bad feeling. He didn't want to be involved with Elias and Ethan anymore. "Mary, let's leave next week, okay?" Mary patted my cold hand, heartbroken. "Okay." The next few days I slept poorly, haunted by nightmares. I dreamt of the day I confessed to Victoria. She wore a white dress, smiling radiantly. "Sebastian, I accept. I love you too." We were on the beach, enjoying the breeze. I spun Victoria around. Her white dress turned red, blood red. Then Ethan appeared, holding a large bouquet of lilies, and said menacingly, "Mr. Sebastian, this is a gift from your sister. Do you like it?" I ran and screamed, begging for help. In the distance, Victoria watched coldly and laughed. "Sebastian, Ethan is the father of my child." "Ha ha ha." The laughter was deafening. I woke up in a cold sweat. "Mr. Sebastian, you have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I suggest medication and therapy." I found myself almost laughing at the diagnosis. I thought those wounds were healed, but they were like seeds, buried deep in my heart, reactivated by Victoria's repeated appearances. Mary, after hearing this, scolded Victoria again before grabbing my hand. "Let's go, far away from these crazy people." I smiled and nodded. Victoria showed up daily at the hospital, desperately pleading for forgiveness. I watched from the window as security chased her away like a stray dog. I felt no pity, only satisfaction. Victoria, reaping what she sowed, faced the consequences of her actions, a ruined career and lost status. Ethan, however, was still undergoing his own punishment. Since moving to a dilapidated apartment in the suburbs, his quality of life had plummeted. Initially, Ethan foolishly believed that even a lean camel is bigger than a horse, and that by clinging to Victoria, he would eventually live comfortably. He gradually realized, however, that Victoria was truly penniless, while her belly grew larger by the day. Ethan, having never held a steady job since graduating college, was too proud for low-paying positions, yet too unambitious for higher ones. He stumbled upon live streaming and began creating suggestive content. He'd say, "Ladies, wealthy patrons, take off your coats and shower your little brother with rockets," wearing a low-cut suit that revealed his abs and pecs. He streamed. Someone in the chat recognized him. "Hey, isn't that the side piece guy? Perfect match for Victoria. Scumbag and hussy, a perfect pair." Ethan, instead of being ashamed, embraced it, changing his username to Pure Love Little Brother, and secretly selling videos of his intimate moments with Victoria for a pittance. Victoria's mother Catherine lay in bed, her blood pressure spiking. "The disgrace," she muttered. "You've shamed the entire Lou family." Ethan sneered. "Old hag, you. Insisted Victoria keep the baby, now you regret it?" Sophia, Victoria's sister, intervened, arguing with Ethan. Their fight played out live on camera. Victoria, returning home to this scene, slapped Ethan. "Are you not ashamed enough?" she screamed. Ethan exploded, pointing at her. "Let's get one thing straight. This whole family relies on my livestream income. You, worthless woman, dare to defy me. If you hadn't forced me, I wouldn't be in this mess." She truly believed Ethan was to blame, completely oblivious to her own mistakes. "Ethan," scoffed Victoria, "stop flattering yourself. A fly doesn't land on a seamless egg. You think you're some kind of angel?" Viewers cheered. "Well said." During a heated push and shove, Ethan punched Victoria in the stomach. She doubled over in pain, yet still managed to shout into the camera, "Sebastian, if I get rid of this baby, will you come back to me?" She was losing her mind. Victoria was rushed to the hospital, enduring a grueling day and night delivering a baby boy. Postpartum hemorrhaging led to a hysterectomy to save her life. Catherine, rushed to the hospital alongside her daughter, suffered a stroke. She died without ever seeing her longed-for grandson. The joy of new life was overshadowed by the grief of losing her mother. Victoria lay in her hospital bed, eyes vacant. Sophia, overwhelmed, absconded with the remaining $20,000 in Victoria's account, eloping with a petty criminal. The nurses pressed Victoria for payment. Her baby was diagnosed with a congenital heart defect requiring immediate surgery. Unable to afford Catherine's funeral, her body remained in the hospital morgue at a cost of $200 a day. The hospital repeatedly urged payment. Victoria called former friends. "Can you lend me $50,000? she asked. A former friend, once happy to share a coffee with her, sneered, "Lending you money is like throwing money down the drain. You think you're still an A-list actress? My dog lives better than you." Victoria looked at her dwindling contact list, everyone having blocked her. She finally realized she had nothing left. I finalized Mary's discharge from the hospital and booked her flight. Exiting the doctor's office, I saw Victoria barefoot at the entrance. She grabbed my hand desperately. "Sebastian," she pleaded, "I've delivered the baby. My belly is empty now. Can you forgive me?" Her hair was disheveled, her face pale from blood loss. I shook her off. "Victoria, when you cheated, did you not consider the consequences?" She clung to me. "Sebastian, it's karma. The baby has a heart condition. He's dying." I said, "You should be looking for the baby's father, not me. I'm not a sucker, nor am I a replacement." Victoria crumbled to the floor, weeping, then laughing hysterically. "Ethan said it's not his child. He called it a bastard. Ha! I deserve this." Suddenly, Ethan burst through the doors, a knife in his hand, lunging at me. "It's all your fault." The attack was so swift I couldn't react. Victoria threw herself in front of me. The knife grazed my arm, slicing Victoria's neck. Blood gushed. I was fed up with the drama and walked away. Victoria, however, followed me downstairs, kneeling before me in public. "Sebastian," she cried, "I deserve this. My mother's gone. My sister's run off. I've suffered enough. Can't you forgive me?" I saw through her self-serving nature and ruthlessly exposed her. "Victoria, your repentance was because of losing my status as a movie star and money, not because I genuinely felt sorry. If you were still a movie star today, would you think cheating was wrong? You keep claiming your innocence. Was someone holding a knife to your throat forcing you to sleep with Ethan? Since you feel you deserve it, don't drag me into your already rotten life. I have no intention of getting entangled with her anymore. Mary's discharge procedures are complete, and we'll fly back to Finland tomorrow. I've received notification for the second interview. I won't give up my musical dream for anyone, Sebastian. I said I would avenge you. I was bewildered. Suddenly a shout arose from the onlookers. She has a baby in her arms. Victoria actually carried the child lying in the ICU out. Victoria had gone mad. Seeing her frenzy, the onlookers rushed forward to restrain her. Someone called the police. I took one last look at Victoria and left without looking back. Victoria tried to stand up and chase me, but the arriving police officers held her down firmly. Her tears and snot smeared on her face. She said, "Sebastian, please don't go, don't leave." Her hoarse cries were quickly shattered by the police officer's taser. At the airport, I pushed Mary onto the departing plane. Although my PTSD is still severe and requires long-term medication, I believe the clouds will eventually disperse. If I don't see a light boat passing by, then I will cross 10,000 mountains. After bringing Mary here, the apartment was a bit cramped. Since I've immigrated, I simply bought a detached villa. In December, I was busy preparing for my final rehearsal before the second interview. I found a quiet forest and practiced my cello. I sat in the center of the woods, closed my eyes, and played a beautiful melody. As the piece ended, applause sounded behind me. "Bach's G major prelude, Bach in the rain," she said. "Your cello skills are quite good." I turned around following the sound. A young woman with an Asian face stood behind me, also holding a cello. "Hello," I asked. "I'm Sebastian. What's your name?" The girl nodded. "Hello, my name is Yu Yu Wei. Perhaps because I was in a foreign country, meeting Yu Yu Wei, I lowered my guard and we started to talk. I've been in Vienna for over 2 months. She was 2 years younger than me and also a freshman at the University of Music and Performing Arts Vienna. She studied abroad in Austria during high school, stayed in Vienna because of her love for music, and has settled here. She asked, "What about you? Why did you choose to live here?" After thinking carefully, I replied, "Because I've always had my own musical dream. I once gave up music because of some people and things. Vienna is the musical paradise in my heart, so I came here." Yu Yu Wei nodded in agreement. "Aren't you afraid of hardship? Studying music is a difficult path." I said, "No matter how difficult the path is, there will be an end, won't there?" We talked a lot about music and dreams. I invited her to dinner, saying Mary's cooking was very good. During dinner, she said, "Wow, I haven't had such authentic Chinese food in 2 years." Yu Yu Wei kept praising Mary's cooking skills. Mary was flattered. "This child has such a sweet mouth," Mary said. "If you want to eat any hometown dishes in the future, just come to Mary. I'll make them for you." Yu Yu Wei looked at me cautiously and asked, "Really?" Only after I nodded did she break into a smile. The next day at the audition, we met again outside the examination room. "Sebastian, good luck," she said. "Yu Yu Wei, good luck," I replied. We smiled at each other and confidently walked into the examination room. During the wait for the results, Yu Yu Wei always found excuses to come to my house. Sometimes she said she was out of salt. Other times she claimed the heating was broken. Mary noticed Yu Yu Wei's feelings for me and tentatively asked, "Yu Yu Wei is a nice girl, what do you think?" I remained silent. Mary sighed. "Sebastian, I'm glad you've picked up your musical dream again. It shows that you're willing to start over. People have to move forward." I looked at Mary and said, "Mary, give me some time." I could see Yu Yu Wei's feelings, but I needed time. The day before Christmas, I finally received the email with my acceptance letter from the University of Music and Performing Arts Vienna. I clicked confirm and I was so excited I almost jumped up. Mary laughed, saying, "You're still as playful as when you were a child." At the same time, Yu Yu Wei also received her acceptance email and happily came to share it with me. Soon, I started school. I carried my cello and walked into my dream music hall, looking at the portraits of world-famous musicians born in Vienna: Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven, Schubert. My life will be devoted to music, fulfilling my purpose. "Sebastian," I looked back and saw Yu Wei standing in the distance, her smile radiant. A year later, I received news. The hospital had scheduled surgery for the child after I left, but Victoria's child didn't make it. Ethan was arrested for assault and held in detention for half a month. During that time, Victoria hastily buried her mother in an unmarked grave in a desolate field. She knelt heavily before the grave, saying, "Mom, after I've done what I need to do, I'll come join you." She bought a knife from a nearby store and headed to the suburbs, returning to their old house where Ethan had been staying since his release. After locking the door, before Ethan could react, Victoria stabbed him. She said, "Go find him, kneel and beg for forgiveness." Afterwards, Victoria turned herself in. When the police arrived, Ethan was lying in a pool of blood. Victoria, covered in blood, sat dazed on the sofa, muttering, "Sebastian, I avenged you. Come back." Victoria was ultimately convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. During a medical examination at a transfer prison, she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Out of humanitarian concern, she was sent to a hospital for free treatment. The excruciating pain of her illness was unbearable. She often cried in agony. Eventually, unable to endure it, she jumped from the rooftop, dying instantly. Victoria's vow, "Sebastian, I'll only ever love you, otherwise, may I be disgraced and die a horrible death," came true. The hospital said she left a letter for me asking if I wanted it. I refused, saying, "Burn it. Burn it along with the unbearable memories of the past 8 years. I finally saw my psychiatrist. He said in broken English, "Congratulations, Sebastian. You can stop taking your medication." The nightmares that had haunted me finally vanished. I walked down the street feeling a lightness and ease I hadn't felt before. I was grateful for Mary's companionship throughout this ordeal, and of course Yue, who, like a little sun, radiated happiness around me every day. Perhaps, as Mary said, it was time for me to start over. Vienna welcomed Christmas once again. Early in the morning, a loud knock woke me. Sleepily, I opened the door to find a huge Christmas tree standing there. Yue popped out from behind it. "Merry Christmas." I couldn't help but laugh. She pretended to be angry, hands on her hips. "Sebastian, help me bring this tree inside." I patted her head affectionately and rolled up my sleeves to carry the tree into the living room. We decorated it together, hanging candles, ornaments, and stars. Yue brought some gift boxes and piled them under the tree. I picked up a heavy one and asked, "Are there really gifts inside?" She mysteriously snatched it and put it back, saying, "We'll open them together tomorrow." I replied, "Cut it out, I don't care." While Yue was hanging a Santa hat, my curiosity got the better of me, and I secretly opened the box. Inside was a newly composed piece of music. Yue appeared behind me. "Do you like it?" she asked. "I spent 3 months composing this piece. It's a cello duet." Her eyes shone as she looked at me. Her breath was close, and I felt a sense of peace. After dinner, Mary, Yue, and I went for a walk. Vienna was decked out for Christmas. Adults and children dressed as Santa Claus were everywhere. Even the cats and dogs were in festive attire. Yue found some Santa hats and put them on me, Mary, and herself. She even stuck a fake mustache on me. "Sebastian, you're Santa Claus. I want to make a wish, and you have to grant it." Her lively antics made Mary and me burst into laughter. Yue ran around shouting, "I wish Sebastian will always laugh happily, purer than the snow of the Alps, and that Mary will become even more beautiful, the most beautiful Mary in the world." I thought Mary was right. Yue was a flatterer. "You're so sweet," I said. "No wonder Mary likes you so much, always calling you Yue and saying she wants to adopt you." Mary quickly chimed in, "Then I'd have both a son and a daughter." Yue, abandoning her usual cheerfulness, leaned close and whispered, "What about you, Sebastian? Do you like me?" I didn't know how to answer. Just as I was about to speak, someone shouted, "Fireworks!" Brilliant fireworks cascaded across the sky, accompanied by fleeting shooting stars, beautiful as a fairy tale. Stars travel across billions of light years to meet humanity, just as we, across latitudes and longitudes, met in Vienna. Yue turned, looking at me in the glow of the aurora, and confessed earnestly, "I want to embrace you, for all the overflowing love in my heart." I turned to her, "Yue, I think it's more appropriate if I do the embracing." She covered her mouth in surprise, tears welling in her eyes. "Yue," I asked, "would you like to play a duet with me?"